Welcome to Power Code Music. In today's presentation, we're going to talk about the Alesis MIDIVerbs 4 along with why and how I use it. I've been a fan of Alesis effects products since the 1990s. This is because on a tight budget, their effects were economical, innovative, easy to use, and they sounded good. They also fit the type of sound that I was going for and helped to shape the sonic quality and the direction of my music. The first Alesis effects device that I ever purchased was the MIDIVerbs, and I still have it today. However, back then when it was time to upgrade, I knew that I needed MIDI in my next multi-effects unit. I was offered a great deal on the MIDIVerbs 4 from a retailer, so I brought two of them. Today, the two MIDIVerbs 4s serve as secondary multi-effects units for both of my Tascam DP24 digital Portastudios. I have one MIDIVerbs 4 allocated to each of my DP24s in my studio. Now this setup works great for me. It allows me to expand the multi-effects functionality of my Tascam DP24s, as well as add more than one effect per track with that unit. In addition, I have the first generation MIDI version of the Tascam DP24 digital Portastudio. If you connect an Alesis MIDIVerbs 4 to a Tascam DP24 via MIDI, that is using the first generation MIDI unit, you can send and receive various MIDI program changes between the two units. Now in this presentation, we are going to do an overview of the front panel and the back of the MIDIVerbs 4. And we're going to show you how this unit is set up and pretty much how it works. We'll also analyze the technical specifications of the unit as well. So sit back, relax, grab your tea and your coffee and stay with me. We have a lot to cover and you are not going to want to miss what this cool little unit can do. Let's take a look at the Alesis MIDIVerbs 4's features. This is a pretty cool little unit in my opinion. We have 128 factory presets plus 128 user adjustable presets for a total of 256 programs. The unit has 18-bit analog to digital and digital to analog conversion. One feature I like here a lot is the auto level sensing. My other effects programs don't have that, or should I say other effects units don't have it. When you plug in your audio signal to the MIDIVerbs 4, it instantly sets optimal input levels so you don't have to. What it does is it listens for about 5 seconds to your audio input and then it automatically adjusts to it so that you don't peak out. It also has the ability to receive MIDI program changes as well as other MIDI events for use with real-time modulation. So that's another thing that's cool with it, is you can use it in an automated setup. Let's check out the Alesis MIDIVerbs 4's technical specifications. The unit has 128 factory and then an additional 128 user preset bank. It, of course, is a digital effects processor, which includes your typical effects such as reverb, delay, chorus, flange, pitch shifters, different types of rooms, and much more. This is also a multi-effects processor, and generally when you use that term refers to the simultaneous use of two or more effects. Well, with this unit, you can use 3 different effects at one time to create a preset. You also have programmable wet, dry mixes as well. You're capable of doing that with this unit. The unit also has both compare and bypass features. Now what compare is if you're working on a preset, you can hear what the preset used to sound like and then you can hear what the preset sounds like after you make your changes. The bypass lets you completely bypass the effect altogether just to hear how your audio sounds dry. The maximum delay time is 1300 milliseconds, and the maximum pitch shift range on this device is 1 octave. It also has MIDI real-time control, so that if you, for instance, record it into a sequencer, you can get full automation. You also have simultaneous MIDI controls with this unit. You have 2 of them, which lets you use 2 different MIDI controllers on this unit at the same time. The unit also has discrete programming channels, which consist of 2, and the analog to digital converter and the digital to analog converters are 18-bit. The unit has overload warnings of 18 segment LEDs. It's a clip light that will let you see what that is. And also the inputs and outputs each include 2 1/4-inch jacks. Now let's analyze the Alesis MIDIVerbs front panel functionality. And we'll start with the display. On the display, the biggest number you'll see is the program number, and that ranges from 00 to 127. Next is the bank, and the unit has 2 banks of 128 programs. The first is the preset bank, and the other is the user bank. The display will either say preset or user, depending upon the current bank that you're in. Next, you'll see the program name, and it has its own, of course, 8-character name. Every program does. The 128 user programs can be renamed. However, the 128 preset programs are factory preset, and you can't rename those. Let's move on to the configuration. Now, this tells us which effects are used by the program, the order in which your input signals will pass through them, and whether this is a stereo or dual configuration. Next is the level meters. These peak style meters monitor the signal strength of the unprocessed inputs and are used in the same way as the level meters are on a standard digital recorder. Moving on, we have the bypass LED. Now, bypass mode can be toggled on and off by simultaneously pressing the program and utility buttons or by using the foot switch. Let's move on to the value knob. If the program button is lit, turning the value knob lets you scroll through the internal programs. When the effect parameter is selected, which is, once you do this, it'll be flashing in the display, turning the value knob will alter its value. Now let's move on to the buttons. We have quite a few of them. The first is the program button. When you press this button, the program button will be lit and the value knob can be used to scroll through the programs. The program button is also used to toggle between the preset and user banks. Next is the edit button. Now, the edit button, when it's pressed in program mode, the program's parameters will be displayed for editing. When it's pressed in utility mode, it pages through the various utility screens and functions. Moving on, we have the A, B, C, and D buttons. And these also have on them the name, escape, and forward and backwards functionalities that you'll see in the little blue type at the bottom right-hand corner of these buttons. Now, when in program mode, pressing any of the A, B, C, and D buttons will select the related parameters, which are A, B, C, and D, in the display, and the selected parameter will then flash. The C and D buttons move the cursor left and right through the 8-character fields of the program name. To move the cursor back to the program location number, press the B or the escape button. Let's move on then to the utility button. There are 6 utility pages as shown by the numbers 1 through 6 in the lower left-hand corner of the display. You can scroll through each page by pressing the edit button. The pages in the utilities include page 1, which is the foot switch and dry defeat. Page 2 is cascade mode. Page 3 is the MIDI functionality. Page 4 consists of modulators. Page 5 is the program table. And page 6 sends sysx. Let's move on to the store button. This button is used to permanently keep changes you make to the program, or you can copy a program to a different location. Last but not least are the input and output buttons. The input button is used to view and adjust the input levels, and the output button is used to view and adjust the output levels. The value knob is then used to adjust the level settings for each. One final feature on the front panel is the auto level. When both input and output buttons are pressed simultaneously, the auto level function is activated. Now this function listens to the signal at the input jacks for approximately 5 seconds and then sets the input level to an appropriate value. Let's check out the Alesis MIDIVerbs back panel. First, we have the power input. This plug is for connecting the 9-volt AC power supply. Next, we have the bypass or advanced foot switch input, and this is a 1/4-inch phone jack which connects to a foot switch, which is either normally open or normally closed. The foot switch can perform either one of two functions, which are bypass or advance. What follows is the MIDI in and MIDI out jacks, and the MIDI out jack also serves as a MIDI through jack. These are 5-pin DIN standard MIDI plugs which connects to any MIDI compatible equipment. It also relays all MIDI messages received on the MIDI in to the MIDI through if that is enabled. Next, we have the input, which is the left channel 1 and right channel 2. These are 1/4-inch phone jacks. For mono applications, you would want to use the left channel 1 input. Last but not least is the output jacks, which I should say consist of the left channel 1 and right channel 2 outputs. These are 1/4-inch phone jacks. Again, for mono applications, use the left channel 1 output. In summary, my Alesis MIDIVerb 4s are a great complement to my Tascam DP24 digital multi-track recorders. MIDIVerb 4s are easy to use and have more than enough effects for the average home studio. Now, if you want to delve deep into the effects parameters of this unit to customize it to your taste and tweak it, there is plenty to play with if you have the time. With great prices on the used market, the Alesis MIDIVerb 4s still stand the test of time and are still a very good purchase. Well, that is a wrap. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and click the subscribe button on your screen now to join our group. We have new videos coming out every 7 to 10 days, and we would love to have you be a part of our team. Also, leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about this video. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. Hey, while you're here, check out some of the other videos in our playlist and listen to some of the music. Let us know what you think about those. Thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you soon.